When windows started wars, the Defenestrations of Prague. In the catalogue of political theatrics, few events stitch comedy and calamity so neatly together as the Defenestrations of Prague. Imagine turning an argument into a sport not with duels or debates, but by opening a window and ejecting your opponent. If you love weird, astonishing history that reads like slapstick with consequences, then this is your lane. And yes, if you enjoy this, hit like and subscribe. Ayawe Stories 44. We dig up the strangest corners of the past. Stay tuned for more. The story begins in 1419, a time when religion, reform, and street fury collided. A crowd led by the radical reformer priest Jan Jalivsky marched on Prague's new town hall demanding the release of imprisoned Hussites. When negotiations failed and tempers flared, the mob shoved the mayor, judge, and several councillors out of windows. They hit the cobbles below. Few survived. The chaotic purge triggered the Hussite Wars, a bloody, decade-spanning conflict that reconfigured Bohemia's future and showed that politics in the streets could be as decisive as politics in the halls. But Prague didn't stop there. Fast forward to 1618, when tensions between Protestant nobles and the Catholic Habsburg administration simmered like a pot set on a slow, angry boil. Nobles stormed Prague Castle, furious that Protestant rights were being eroded by imperial governors. They seized two royal regents, Jaroslav Bozita of Martinice and Vilém Slavata of Chlum, and their secretary, Philip Fabricius, and in full dramatic flourish, chucked them out of a second-story window of the castle. The scene reads like a stage direction scribbled in blood, and now exit stage left very abruptly. Here's the twist that cements the absurdity. They lived. The imperial camp spun a pious tale that angels cushioned the fall, while the local version offered a much humbler explanation. The men landed in a giant heap of manure that had been placed below the battlements. Call it divine intervention if you like, but there's something darkly funny in the image of proud governors crawling out of dung, brushing themselves off and swearing vengeance. In any case, the incident sent shockwaves through Europe, helping to ignite the 30 Years' War, a cataclysm that turned local grievance into continental catastrophe. Why does the story keep feeling like sitcom material? Because the defenestrations reveal a human truth. Sometimes history is dictated by accidents and petty cruelty rather than grand strategy. Prague's windows became more than architecture. They were a shorthand for political theater. The term defenestration itself climbed into the language because of these incidents. If you ever wanted proof that a single ridiculous gesture can spiral into catastrophe, Prague is the cautionary tale you didn't know you needed. Prague loved a good window moment so much that historians now point to multiple episodes across centuries. The 1419 tossing birthed the Hussite movement's violent assertion of power. The 1618 incident was the spark that lit Europe's tinderbox into the 30 Years' conflagration. The causal chain from dung-padded fall to continental war is absurd and also sobering. One rowdy confrontation at a castle window helped redraw political boundaries and religious freedoms across Europe for generations. Beyond the laughs, there's an irony in how memory works. The Protestant nobility meant their dramatic act to be a clear statement. Rule by imposition would no longer pass unopposed. Habsburg propaganda tried to recast it as martyrdom narrowly escaped by divine mercy. Local storytellers preferred the manure version, which humanizes both the folly and the vulgarity of power struggles. The truth probably lies somewhere between myth and muck, but the manure story endures because it reduces pomp to pratfall in all its messy glory. Prague's windows seem mischievous to this day. Their story a reminder that even the smallest civic spaces can stage the largest drama. So what are the takeaways? First, never underestimate how theatrical politics can get. Sometimes people literally throw out representatives instead of voting them out. Second, tiny, ridiculous moments in time can have outsized historical effects. Third, Prague's peculiar brand of diplomacy, where a window is both stage and executioner, gives us one of history's oddest origin stories for a major European war. And finally, if you ever feel overwhelmed by modern rhetoric, recall that at least our politicians no longer resolve things with a flying sash window. If this tale hit your funny bone and your curiosity, there are more where that came from. History is jammed with outlandish causality, improbable survivals, and moments so strange they're almost cartoonish, and still change everything. Like and subscribe Ayawe Stories on 44, and we'll keep digging up the absurd, the consequential, and the wildly entertaining corners of the past.